Hey up everybody, I hope you're well and you're having a really good and productive recovery day. It's glorious sunshine here in Middlesbrough, so hopefully wherever you are it's also really nice and sunny and calm and lovely. I wanted to do tonight's brief chat about snacking because there seems to be a lot of conversation at the moment on Insta, I've noticed, about people struggling or just kind of needing some advice and some support about snacking. Now remember, all of my videos are just about my experience. I'm not a scientist. I don't have any of this in terms of actual, scientific or real know-how. It's just absolute empirical understanding and knowledge that I've gone through myself. So in terms of snacking, I think I went through 3 stages, each of which had their own difficulties and each of which had their own approaches and things that I needed to do in order to make it so that I'm now in a position that I'm currently in. Ultimately, I think in recovery we need to get to a stage where we're not thinking of snacking as snacking. So like many of us, I had a meal plan and it was 3 meals and 3 snacks a day. So snacks felt like, whilst I was in those particular parts of recovery, as something I had to do. But I think now when I'm in recovery and in the stage of recovery that I am, it's looking at snacking, or I don't feel like it's snacking in having to have something pre-planned and pre-organised. Where I am now, it's about the fact that I just maybe get a bit hungry, so I'll grab something like everybody else in the whole world does. But in order to get to the position that I'm in, I think I had to go through 3 quite distinct phases. So phase 1 was forcing myself to eat the snacks, or being forced to eat the snacks. So if you are in a position in your recovery like I was in very, very early days, before I really committed to recovery, and when I was, I'll be frank, at death's door, snacks were my medicine. Now, I've always had huge problems with snacking because of seeing it as unnecessary and extra in the early days of my recovery. I don't have any problem with snacking at all now. I've just downed a whole bag of big crisps just because I fancy them and I'm about to have my curry. So, you do get to a point where it's fine. But initially, snacking was a huge thing for me and I had to be forced them. Snacking in that first stage is about nutritional rehabilitation. So it's about making sure that we have enough nutrients and enough density in our diet so that our hearts and our bodies are no longer dying. I'll be honest, that's what it is. We are in such a deprived state that our bodies need this constant nutritional balance. So I remember one Christmas day, I think probably about 2017, something like that. I remember Christmas Day, I'd had, Christmas breakfast, yada, yada, yada. I'd had Christmas dinner, I was around my mum's. I remember my husband coming up to me. I was in the kitchen washing the pots, and he came up to me and he said, "You haven't had your snack." And I said, "Yeah, but I've had my Christmas dinner." And he was like, "Yeah, but Sarah, you haven't had your snack, and you have to have your snack." And I remember standing in my mum's kitchen, and we were eating, we made each other eat a banana and a mince pie. And I was crying my eyes out on Christmas Day. And that's the stage I was talking about the forced. That regardless of what day it is or what happens, when you're in those initial states of recovery, you need to have 3 full meals and 3 snacks a day. Absolute minimum. But you probably won't want them, and you're probably not going to be hungry, and you're probably not going to fancy anything. So it's about having things to hand and having things easy so that you can just grab them and eat them. And it might be asking for support to do that, or you might be able to do it by yourself, but it's having things where the thought process is gone. So you might prepare yourself a Tupperware box, or you might prepare yourself just a part of the cupboard where your snacks are, but it needs to be grab and go things that are quick and things that are easy. Fruit is a bullshit snack. Have fruit, but you must have life tokens on it. So if you're going to have some strawberries or some mango or banana, then it has to come with peanut butter and honey, and then potentially a slice of toast as well. But yeah, so stage 1 was feeling like it was forced. Stage 2 was when I just could snack all day, and that's when extreme hunger kicked in. And I would have my 3 meals, but then I could just snack, and that is awesome. At the time, it will feel shit. I'm not going to fib to you. You will feel guilty, depressed, anxious, dreadful, crying, sitting on your kitchen floor like I used to, rolling around, screaming your heart out at 4 o'clock in the morning. But you just feel like you're just an absolute eating machine, and that is because your body's saying, come on, eat. So listen to it and just eat. So stage 2 is when you feel like you could just snack all the time. If you feel like that, still have your meals though. So the snacking all the time is because your body is bereft of food and nutrients, but you need to start to rewire your brain. And then actually breakfast is really, really great. Lunch and tea and supper are really, really great. But the bits in between are brilliant too. But ultimately, you might not need them long term. But at that moment in stage 2, when extreme hunger kicks in, you need those snacks. Once you get over that kind of hurdle in terms of snacking and recovery, you then start to get to stage 3 where it can be more intuitive. But you can't get into, in my experience, you can't get into intuitive snacking and intuitive eating until you've gone through the forced snacking where you have to in order to save your life and start rewiring. You go through the extreme hunger, which is your body making up for all that thing you've deprived it of, and you're constantly rewiring, saying chocolate is good, sugar is good, carbs are good, this is fine, just keep eating. And then ultimately you are in the intuitive stage. Many people can do intuitive eating from the word go. Brilliant, go for it if you can. I couldn't. I didn't know what I fancied, what I wanted, or what it was that I needed. So I had to have a really strict structure and meal plan. So if you are anxious about snacking, don't worry. We all are. It is a real hurdle. It can be a real difficult one to get through. But for me, it was 3 stages. It was making myself do it because I knew I needed to survive and I needed to live and I needed to get well. The second one was embracing my extreme hunger, regardless of what time it was, but keep eating your meals as well. You have to still have chili con carne with rice and naan bread at tea time, regardless of what's happened or what's going to come. So stick to your meals, but embrace the fact you might want to snack loads. And then third and final is that it will slowly become intuitive. But take your time, be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself. And ultimately, you need to eat 3 meals, 3 snacks a day minimum, then embrace your extreme hunger, and then ultimately intuitive eating can kick in. I hope that helps. Take care, everybody. Night, night.